The Iron Orchard, the secret cull of humanity. They called us the inheritors of the flame. For 300 years, that was the lie we told our children. We told them that when the earth was dying, choked by its own ambition, a race of gods descended from the stars to save us. The Vanguard. They were beautiful, terrifying, and eternal. They offered us a bargain: they would give us the stars, and we would give them our strength. We became the ultimate soldiers. While the Vanguard remained in their high spires and crystalline citadels, pondering the philosophy of the cosmos, humanity became the boot on the ground. We were the Iron Lancers, the Storm Breakers, the Shield of Soul. We didn't just fight for the Vanguard, we worshipped them. Every world we conquered, every alien rebellion we crushed, was a sacrifice at the altar of our protectors. We were the pride of the galaxy. My name is Commander Elias Miller. I've spent 30 years in the Iron Lancers. I've seen things that would break a civilian's mind: the gas giant wars of Saturn's moons, the boarding actions in the void of the Great Void. I believed in the crusade. I believed we were the bringers of order. Until the 501st was deployed to the Iron Orchard. The system was listed on our star charts as V904. To the locals, it was simply the garden. The planet was inhabited by the Luma, a race of bioluminescent beings who communicated through light and harmony. They didn't have cities, they had ecosystems. They didn't have factories, they had growth cycles. The Vanguard High Command issued the directive: the Luma have reached a state of developmental instability. Their biological resonance is interfering with the local subspace filaments. They must be harvested. Harvested. That was the word they used. Not conquered. Not defeated. Harvested. When we landed, the Iron Orchard didn't look like a battlefield. It was a cathedral of glass and light. The trees, if you could call them that, were hundreds of feet tall, made of a translucent, metallic fiber that hummed in the wind. The air tasted like ozone and honey. My men were tense. We were used to mud, blood, and the smell of burnt plasma. This place was too perfect. Commander, my second in command, Lieutenant Sarah Vance, whispered over the comms. Something's wrong. The Luma, they aren't even running. She was right. As our heavy walkers crushed the delicate glass flowers beneath their treads, the Luma stood in the clearings. They were tall, graceful creatures, their skin glowing with a soft, pulsing blue light. They didn't have weapons. They held out their hands, their lights pulsing in a slow, mournful rhythm. Maintain formation. I shouted, though my heart wasn't in it. Secure the central archives. The Inquisitor wants the data cores intact. The Vanguard High Inquisitor, a being named Oryx, watched from a hovering spire above us. He didn't wear armor, he was wrapped in a shroud of shifting energy. To him, this wasn't a war, it was a chore. I led a squad into the central Luma archive, a massive tree whose roots descended miles into the planet's crust. It was here that the Luma stored their collective memory. My job was to plug in a Vanguard data siphon and extract everything before the orbital bombardment began. As the siphon began its work, the Luma's history started scrolling across my HUD. I've spent my life reading battle reports, but this was different. This was a ledger. I saw the Krell, a warrior race I fought beside a decade ago. According to the records, they had been harvested 50 years prior. But I knew the Krell. They were our allies. Then I saw the Ethel. Then the Vorg. One by one, I saw every great race that had ever served the Vanguard. They weren't listed as allies. They were listed as crops. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the planet's climate. I began to dig deeper, bypassing the Vanguard's overlay. I found a hidden file, buried under layers of Luma protective code. It was a projection. A growth chart for a species labeled Species 144, Terran. That was us. Humanity. The chart showed our population growth, our technological advancement, and our military capacity over the last 3 centuries. There was a red line drawn across the year 2326. That's this year. Next to the line were 3 words in the Vanguard's high script: maximum yield reached. The Vanguard didn't save us from Earth. They transplanted us. They moved us to a bigger pot so we could grow faster. They used us to clear the weeds other alien races from their garden. And now, we were the ones taking up too much space. We were the ones whose roots were getting too deep. Commander Sarah's voice broke through my trance. The Inquisitor is signaling. The orbital platforms are in position. They're telling us to evacuate to the primary landing zones. I looked at the Lumas standing outside the archive. They weren't mourning their own deaths. Their lights were pulsing in a pattern I finally understood. It was a warning. A warning for us. Sarah, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Look at the targeting coordinates for the orbital strike. She patched into the Aegis' tactical feed. There was a long silence. Commander, those aren't Luma population centers. Those are our barracks. Our fleet tenders. Our fuel depots. The Vanguard weren't going to destroy the Iron Orchard. They were going to destroy the 501st. They were going to prune the most decorated human military unit in history, and then they would go back to Earth and tell them we died as heroes in a glorious battle. They would keep the human race small, manageable, and obedient. We've been played, Sarah hissed. 30 years, Elias. We've been their butchers, and now we're the meat. All units, this is Commander Miller, I broadcasted on the closed-loop human frequency. Break formation. This is not a drill. The Vanguard has designated all human assets for liquidation. Protocol Xylos is active, I repeat, the gods are firing on us. The confusion was instant. I heard men crying out, heard the sounds of confusion from the ranks. But the 501st was the best for a reason. They didn't freeze. They looked up. The sky began to glow. The Vanguard orbital platform's massive, beautiful rings of light were turning a violent, angry red. Inquisitor Oryx, I hailed the spire. We see the targeting arrays. Explain yourself. The Inquisitor's voice came back, cold and devoid of any emotion. Commander Miller. You have served your purpose with distinction. But a garden cannot thrive if one plant consumes all the water. You have become too efficient. You have become inconvenient. Your sacrifice will be remembered in the songs of the next cycle. Be at peace. I'm not much for singing, I growled. We had 40 minutes before the first strike. 40 minutes to save 20,000 soldiers and find a way off a planet that was about to become a microwave. Sarah, get the Luma leaders, I ordered. If they can talk to this planet, maybe they can help us stop the resonance. The Luma didn't hate us. Even as we had been stomping through their home, they had seen us for what we were, fellow victims. They showed us the pulse tree's ancient structures that acted as lightning rods for planetary energy. If we could overload them, we could create a feedback loop that would hit the Vanguard ships through their own tractor beams. The battle that followed wasn't human versus alien. It was the tools versus the gardeners. We turned our tanks around. We fired our plasma cannons not at the Luma, but at the Vanguard Inquisitor's spires. The energy shields of the Vanguard were powerful, but they were designed to deflect high-velocity projectiles, not the raw, harmonic energy of the planet itself. I stood at the base of the great tree, my hands on the shimmering bark. I felt the planet's heartbeat. It was angry. It was tired of being pruned. Now, I screamed. The 501st Engineers detonated the warp cores of our abandoned dropships at the base of the pulse trees. The explosion wasn't fire, it was a wave of pure, crystalline sound. A shock wave of resonance that tore through the air, turning the sky into a kaleidoscope of shattering light. The Vanguard ships in orbit didn't explode. They cracked. Like fine china in a rock crusher. The feedback from the planet's energy surged up their targeting beams and fried their internal systems. The gods were falling from the sky in pieces of burning glass. We didn't win a war that day. We just survived an execution. We managed to get 3 of our heavy cruisers off the ground before the planet's crust began to buckle from the energy release. We took as many Luma as we could fit into the cargo bays. As we broke atmosphere, I looked back at the iron orchard. It was glowing brighter than a sun, a beautiful, dying garden. "Where to?" Commander Sarah asked. She was bleeding from a head wound, her eyes reflecting the fire of the burning fleet. "We can't go back to Earth. The Vanguard will have a fleet waiting for us the moment we enter the Sol system." "Then we don't go back," I said. "We go where they can't follow. Into the dead zones. Into the nebulae where their sensors can't penetrate. We are now a fleet of ghosts. We are the blight in the Vanguard's perfect garden. We are no longer their sword. We are the infection. We started hacking the deep space relays. We're sending the data from the Luma archives back to Earth. We're showing the people of Sol the growth charts. We're showing them the red line. We're showing them that their protectors are just waiting for the right moment to harvest them. The Vanguard thinks they can prune us. They think they can keep humanity in a box. But they forgot that humans were born in the wild. We weren't meant for a garden. We were meant for the forest. And the forest is coming for them. We walked through the glass forests of the iron orchard and seen the true face of the gods who claim to be our saviors. The story of Commander Miller and the 501st is more than just a tale of military betrayal, it's a warning about the cost of blind loyalty and the danger of letting someone else define your worth. Humanity was nearly harvested, pruned away like a dead branch, but in the heart of that betrayal, we found a new kind of strength. If this journey into the dark secrets of the Vanguard resonated with you, please make sure to like the video. Your engagement is what allows us to keep exploring these distant reaches of the imagination. If you want to stay informed and be part of our growing community of star travelers, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. We are just getting started with these chronicles. And for those of you who aren't ready to return to Earth just yet, I highly recommend checking out the other story currently appearing on your screen. It dives into another facet of the human struggle among the stars, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thank you for sticking with us through the deep black and the crystalline fires of the orchard. It's been an honor to tell this story for you. Stay sharp, stay curious, and never trust a God who brings his own shears. See you in the next one.